Hello and welcome to episode 116 of Third and Wrong. I'm your co-host, Stephen Bullen, and I'm joined as always by Granddaddy Oz and Zach with our nicknames here on the screen. But Zach didn't change his. I was totally expecting that to be a different name than just Zach. But fellas, we're off to a rolling start here. Let's go to Ozzy first. Granddaddy Oz. Ozzy, how are things?
Things are fantastic. I was going to make a weather thing because that's Zach's thing, but we've given him enough flack so far. So things are great over here. And just living the dream.
All right. Oh, we always just, dude, no one has a thing on here. We always just steal each other's stuff. Zach, how are things, my friend?
Things are pretty plain, as my name would allude to at the moment. But no, hey, it's great, man. It's plus 32 out. Weather's crazy. Here in Medicine Hat, Alberta, and loving life.
There you go, man. Well, we're definitely loving life because, ladies and gentlemen, we were going to report this last week, but we didn't have an episode. But the CFL is fucking back. It is back. It is starting here for August 5th. Training camps will start in a month. And we are super fired up, man. Like, it is, what a long wait. And we missed the 2020 season. But not only is the CFL back, the Board of Governors unanimously agreed. There was no holdback from Toronto or Montreal ownership, which was great. Your two favorite teams. I hold you two responsible for that. And they released the schedule. So we have a full slate of games kind of tailored to the latest restrictions and stuff like that. Obviously, the teams out east can't start at home right away, but the Riders, I think, first 4 games are all at home. So, it's going to be a different year. It's going to be a weird year, but only 14 games that we're going to have a season. And that is just enough for me. So, guys, I don't know where to start. Like, there's just the initial excitement was just like, holy shit. Like, I can't believe we're going to have a CFL season. And I hope things go smooth as far as COVID protocols and everything goes. And I can't wait till we don't have to talk about that anymore. But it looks like full steam ahead. Zach, how do you feel about it, man? I mean, barring the obvious reaction.
Man, yeah. For those who are listening, we were all dancing on here when Steve was announcing. So it's pretty exciting, man. It brings back that appreciation we have for the Canadian game. And I know for myself, I was already on looking at what games I can go to so I can go appreciate it even more. There's a lot of excitement around this season. And I feel it's going to be, these players want to play, these fans want to see it, and it's going to turn into some good football.
Absolutely. Cody Fajardo, League MOP 2021. We're here for it. Ozzy, how do you feel about it, man?
Man, I'm super freaking stoked. I saw Vernon Adams Jr. just got into Montreal, and it just made everything real. MOP, Vernon Adams Jr. Zach's not passionate about his fan base or his team enough that he didn't call out his starting quarterback, MOP.
They don't have one yet. Is it McLeod?
Oh, yeah, that's
right.
Nick? Who's it going to be?
Both of them.
Yeah, exactly. The dreaded dual QB offense. But as Zach said, he was already looking at games that he could go to. I actually just got a notification today from Hopper, the Hopper app. Definitely recommend it if you need if you're looking for the best flights. Not sponsored, but not yet.
Yeah, Christ, that sounded like such a smooth transition to an ad read. I'm like, wow, did we get a sponsor over the last week that I wasn't aware of? But wow, okay, keep that one in your back pocket. So
I'll send that clip to them too, and let's see what happens.
Yeah.
But literally just got a notification from them today for the flights to Montreal for week 13. Saskatchewan, Montreal.
Ooh.
I haven't told Shay yet. I haven't told myself if it's happening yet, but I haven't told Shay either. It would be a surprise either way, but I know she doesn't listen to the pod yet. But yeah, so that's the game I'm looking forward to.
She has 100 episodes or more to go back and listen. Yeah. So, Ozzy, it's easier to ask for forgiveness than it is for permission. That's the old saying. So just run with it, man. You have our support. I know, I agree. I was looking at some games. Obviously, the Labor Day Classic weekends, week 5 this year. You have the Alouettes going to Ottawa, Winnipeg and Saskatchewan, Toronto and Hamilton, and Edmonton and Calgary. Not sure if I'll make it to Regina this year for a game or not. I would love to. Kind of depends what everything's looking like. But Saskatchewan actually comes up to Calgary twice in October 2nd and the 23rd, I believe. So definitely going to have my eyes on those games. And I'll be very conflicted because we've had a lot of prominent Stampeders on this podcast now. We had Keon Raymond, former Stamp, Kamar Jordan. We had local Calgary product, Peter Nicastro. I'm probably forgetting some too, but it's just like, I want to see those guys. I want to see, especially Kamar Jordan. I want to see him succeed. I want to see him do well. But when I'm wearing my Rider green, it just, maybe all that goes away. So I don't know.
They're friends of the pod, but I mean, come on, you can't let your riders down.
No, I can't. And maybe it's on us to start reaching out to more riders. I know Zach would love to have Darian Durant on, tell him how much he looks up to him as a quarterback, better than Ricky Ray. So yeah, there's lots of great potential guests there for us. Another good slate of games is week 9. I was kind of peeking at the schedule. Edmonton's going to Ottawa, so you have a lot of former Red Blacks, on that Edmonton squad, and they'll be going back to Ottawa. Winnipeg at BC. Who knows what these teams will look like this late in the season? But you have Zach Collaros if he'll still be healthy. Mike Riley, same kind of story. Or if we'll be seeing Nathan Work taking snaps under center, the Canadian quarterback who was taken in the second round of the 2020 CFL draft. Montreal at Hamilton, because is Montreal tough enough to stand with the big dog in the East that went 15-3 in 2019? And then Saskatchewan at Calgary. I believe that's their first or second matchup of the year. And, Cody Fajardo versus Bo Levi Mitchell, 2 elite quarterbacks going head to head. And so just plenty of games to circle on the calendar, fellas. I'm just so glad it's back. And it sounds like Alberta's full steam ahead, going to be opening here in July 1st. So we'll be able to go to some games in Calgary. So maybe keep your eyes and ears open for potentially an amateur agency tailgate party again. So, yet to be planned because, what can you plan nowadays? But keep your eyes and ears open. Fellas, speaking of the Stampeders, they released some pretty nifty retro-inspired uniforms for their 75th anniversary, which actually would have been 2020, but we don't talk about that anymore. Really cool. Had like the candy cane stripes, the white pants with the red stripes coming down. I'm a huge fan. They're going to wear them for 6 out of their, or probably all 6 home games. I'm not sure. There's 14 weeks, 2 bye weeks. So yeah, I think they're wearing them for all their home games this year. And to celebrate the 75th anniversary. I love them. Like anything retro inspired, I'm here for. Like I'm very pro the riders should go full time to their retro uniforms with the kind of similar stripes coming down the shoulder. I loved the Argos uniforms in the 90s with the big, I think it's like Jason the Argonaut, like right on the shoulder there. I just love the retro vibe. And I know Zach's we had this talk about plaid last episode, but Zach's very modern thinking. Like, Zach, you're a big fan of the Browns' last uniform redesign before they went back to their classic look. But right. I want to go to you first, Zach, because you seem lukewarm and your parents are also Stamps fans. So I'm curious as to what their reaction was. Will they be purchasing a retro Stampeders 75th anniversary edition jersey?
Well, I actually haven't talked to my parents about them quite yet. I think I told I said something to my dad the day it was released, but he hadn't seen them at that point. Mm-hmm. I actually really like the uniform, and I'm always cool with a retro throwback for a game. I think it's cool for a game.
Right.
That's what it needs to do. You have a throwback, you respect what had happened prior, and you go back to your modern stuff, the stuff that's supposed to be now, and not have to do it over and over again. But no, as a fan, I do like purchasing retro memorabilia and such is really cool, and it brings back a history of it. But I guess it is the 75th anniversary. I don't have a lot to say against it. Do I like their more modern look? Of course I do.
Let's dive into the uniform talk a little bit here. I'm of the essence that I think the Stampeders, with the addition of the Red Blacks to the CFL, should totally ditch black from their color palette and go full red and white.
Interesting.
And maybe even add silver. I don't know.
I think their nicest uniforms was the one when they had the dual pistols, and right. Then I think it was majority. There's black trim on that one with more red. And
yeah,
I felt that was the sharpest.
That was cool too. Maybe they go all red and white and then just add that gunmetal black uniform for once a year.
Yeah. I think that gunmetal needs to be their go-to.
Fair. Ozzy, what are your thoughts?
I like these ones better than their regular jerseys, and I don't think that's I just think the other ones are like the red ones are just a little too plain for my liking. This adds a little bit of flair with the throwback aspect. You got some stripes there, making the uniform complete. Jasper's coming here to give his take, and yeah, he's not a fan of the original or the regular jerseys either. But yeah, I actually like these ones more. I hope that they go to him a couple times.
Yeah, I think they'll be nice. Guys, I don't even know where to start with like CFL stuff. Like, there's just so many things to cover, and like I have so many hot takes I want to rattle off. Like, I want to make it a predictions episode, but none of us have prepared for that, so we're not going to do that. You guys look on your guys' face, you're like, "What the fuck's Steve doing right now?" Like, "Oh, the Riders will go," and then we just start spitting out records. But I can't wait for training camp battles. I mean, there's gonna be some surprise cuts. You know, like the Argos have about a freaking laundry list of former NFLers to get through before they make their final cuts.
Amen.
Sean Oakman's there, Shane Ray, Charleston Hughes, Odell Willis, like Christ.
Everyone, man, everyone and their brother, man.
So I'm just super excited, and there's so many storylines to dive into, but I think we're going to tackle that week by week. I think that's probably a better way to go about it. And especially when training camps open, I'm really excited to see how that QB battle goes in Toronto. I'm really interested in the backup QB position for Saskatchewan. You have Isaac Harker, Tom Flacco, I believe his name is, Joe Flacco's younger brother, Luke Falk, who was a former New York Jet. So, you know, backup quarterback position in the CFL is super important. You know, there's always likely that your backup's going to see time, significant time, just with how long the season is, 18 games typically, but maybe even with the year off, injuries could play more of a factor. Hopefully not. But hopefully the Edmonton Elk come up with some new sick jerseys too, antlers everywhere. So
here we go.
Any final thoughts on CFL being back, fellas, or we'll just kind of take it as it comes?
I think everyone, in like respect to the Elk, their new name, the Elks, we should all do an elk call, practice our elk call, and
and in honor of them, actually, I'm getting antlers tattooed on my forehead.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah,
nice. I still have to get Jimmy Garoppolo's name tattooed on my ass, so that's that.
And Brian Schottenheimer's signature. So if anybody has access to that, we need a screenshot.
Brian Schottenheimer's signature. Yeah. Speaking of the Seahawks, guys, let's transition to the NFL. For our Canadian fans out there, we'll have some more defined storylines as you know, things creep closer to those training camp reporting days and everything, but and predictions as well, because you already heard one: Cody Fajardo MOP and Grey Cup MVP. Guys, NFL, Russell Wilson, he's reported to minicamp, and it appears everything's good. Pete Carroll's having a press conference, and Russell came in. He said, "Just want to let everyone know we're still friends." And then John Schneider, the GM, photobombed that session as well. So, you know, much smoother operation than what we're seeing in Green Bay. And I'm super excited. I think, you know, was what he said earlier this year true? Yes, it was all true, and he probably meant it, but I think it did get blown out of proportion with like the list of teams, and that he never actually requested a trade. He just said, if he were to be traded, here's the list of teams you'd go to. So it was kind of blown out of proportion, but at the same time, it's like he started a fire, tossed a little gasoline on that, and then it got way bigger than he thought it was going to be. He was like, well, my intention wasn't for it to become a forest fire. I was just trying to burn this bush over here. And so, you know, that's the best analogy we're going to get from me. But sounds like they're really
good, actually.
Yeah,
it was really good.
All right. And sounds like they're really enjoying Shane Waldron's offense. They're saying it's very intricate, a lot more complex than what Brian Schottenheimer is running. So I'm really interested to see what that all ends up looking like. So Seahawks Super Bowl hopes 2021 still alive. Not dead yet because Wilson's on the team. Any thoughts?
I heard a conspiracy theory that Russell Wilson was so embarrassed, or there was so much heat, not that he was embarrassed, but there was so much heat that could have been on Russell Wilson because he had like one of the worst second halves of the season, that he came out with this story just to hide the fact that he really just shit the bed all the second half of the season. He went from MVP candidate and almost like a lock to just utter ass, like probably Carson Wentz bad. And
oh wow.
Well,
I mean, Ozzy, I was with you till then. Like, you know, maybe there's something to that, and
might be a little bit over exaggeration, but yeah. Then he came up with this little rumor to try to take the heat off.
After that.
I mean, I think
See-
everyone wants it to, and we said this back when it was first happening, everyone wants it to be black and white, but I think there is a myriad of factors at play. Schottenheimer's play calling got predictable. Russ wasn't making reads to the middle of the field. He wasn't throwing what was given to him. And I think Pete probably was getting tired of the turnovers because Pete's very turnover adverse, and he wanted more control and wanted more of a run game presence. I think all three of those things can be true. It doesn't mean you have to trade Russell. I think Brian Schottenheimer, looking back on it, I was against the firing at first, but now that we have who we have, Shane Waldron, I'm for it. I think Shane Waldron's going to really incorporate a creative running game instead of just running between the tackles with Chris Carson. So I'm really excited. Zach, your thoughts on Wilson showing up to camp?
Man, it was good. I think it was, I like that you brought up Aaron Rodgers, and I think this more plays to the fact of Wilson's character. And he is, if I picked one guy out of the NFL, a quarterback who's just an utmost professional, like Russell Wilson is that guy, man. Like, he's a great leader, and there's Jasper. He's agreeing with me. Russell Wilson's a professional. That's why he's showing up to mini camps. That's why he wants to help his team win. And, sometimes you got to be a little fun with the media and throw some things out there. And I think that's what happened. And you explained it perfectly. I don't need to jump in it anymore, but that's past. He knows how to turn the chapter or turn the page in his career to the next step. And here we are. So it's cool seeing him out there.
I agree. I think we're in for a great season. I don't know what's going to happen next off season. It really depends on, what transpires. If Russ only throws for 22 touchdowns and say 4 picks, and we have a really balanced attack and we go win a Super Bowl, I think Russ just wants to win at the end of the day. I don't think he needs 40 touchdowns. So, I think he just wants to win. And I think that's what's really like the wild card in the playoff upsets that we keep losing and we have lost for the last 6 years is really getting to him. And then you see Tom Brady hoisting a 7th trophy and you're like, what the hell?
What the hell? Yeah.
And he literally handpicked guys to be on that roster. And Russell's like, yeah, I think we should get an offensive line. And the Seahawks are apprehensive to that. It's like, all right, we can see your frustration, Russ.
Yeah.
You literally saw a quarterback just walk in there and command power, really.
Let's move on. Guys, Le'Veon Bell had some not so nice things to say about Andy Reid, saying he'd rather retire than ever have to play for Andy Reid again. I find this very strange. I found this whole kind of thing really strange. Like, Andy Reid seems like such a great players coach, and I'm pretty sure everyone he's coached has pretty good things to say about him. Maybe save for Terrell Owens, but I think even they've patched it up at the end of the day because T.O. didn't have the most kind departure from Philly back in the day, but I think that had more to do with Donovan McNabb than anything. So I don't know how to think about it. I don't know what to think about this, guys. Like, is Le'Veon Bell, maybe he's privy to the conversations they've had behind closed doors and Andy Reid has said some crappy things to him, or is Lev Bell just kind of pinning his failures since leaving the Steelers essentially on coach after coach? Because it seems like he was not a fan of Tomlin when he left. He wasn't a fan of Adam Gase, which no one is, when he left, and now it's Andy Reid. Two of those guys are quite accomplished. What's your take on this, Zach? We'll go to you first because it's a former division foe with the Steelers.
What a bad look. What a bad look. Take some responsibility and frickin' move on to your, do the next chapter. Like I just talked about, flip the page, move somewhere else and, put the work in to be great again. There's nothing worse than a guy who had a lot of success, then did something like his holdout where, everyone was kind of behind him for that and then came back just trash. And now is starting to blame everyone else for his woes. There's nothing worse than that. And it's so hard to get behind someone like that. And when you're doing it to Andy Reid, the guy who even if you hated the Chiefs and they won the Super Bowl, you were still happy for Andy Reid winning the Super Bowl because he's such a cool guy. We don't deal with him on a day-to-day basis, but there's enough reports that come out that right. There's enough reports that come out that many players love him and would go up to bat for him any day. And I think this is just a horrible look for Le'Veon Bell. And I think we're looking at the end of his career, honestly. What a
Yeah.
bad time to do this.
Imagine calling yourself the Steph Curry of running backs because he said he was changing the way the game was played by, his patient style behind the line to this. Like, to call yourself the Steph
Right.
Curry of anything. Like, I'm the Steph Curry of eating pasta, maybe, but like that's all I'll hang my hat on. And to like anoint yourself as like such a revolutionary game changer in your respective sport, because Steph is for the game of basketball, I should say. It's just I didn't buy it then, and I certainly don't buy it now, because I don't think running backs are really. It's very scheme dependent on how they're running. Like, he's not.
Right.
I don't think running backs are watching Le'Veon Bell being like, oh, like, I got to run like Lev Bell.
That's
Like,
the guy.
if you got to be at a certain hole at a certain time because you're running zone scheme or you're running man blocking and stuff like that, then that's what you got to be. And maybe I'm ignorant to that, and I'd love to have a running back tell me otherwise, because if I'm proven wrong, then great, we get to learn something new. But I just didn't buy that, and I certainly don't buy it now. Ozzy, any thoughts on the Lev Bell fiasco?
Yeah, it just kind of seems like he's playing victim more than anything at this point for his failing career. Wide receivers have a bad rap for being divas, but Le'Veon Bell is really becoming one, and he seems to be blaming his shortcomings since leaving the Steelers on everybody else. And like you had said, Steve, too, like Adam Gase kind of is a valid reason, so we'll give him that. But then to go to Andy Reid, who is like the total opposite of Adam Gase, it's like, okay, maybe you're the problem. And you see the downfall. Like, it'd be one thing we could give him maybe a little bit of credit if he went to the Jets and he really still showed that he had that elite talent. Then it'd be like, okay, like if you want to anoint yourself the Steph Curry, okay, well, like maybe we can have that conversation. But to go from the Steelers to another team to two other teams and to be just meh, it's like, hey, well, I got to go back and watch that Steelers offensive line because maybe they made you look really good. Or maybe the fact that Antonio Brown is on that roster, and like maybe that opens things up too. Like, I got to start looking back and seeing why you're so great if all of a sudden you fall off and now you're blaming other people for your problems.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think that about does it, fellas, for that. And I'm not sure if he'll get signed at this point after blasting your coach. Like, I can't imagine any coach being like, yeah, you know what, I'll take the risk on that.
Yeah, seriously. I'm sure his agent's just really thrilled with that.
Yeah.
Like, that's what you want.
His agent opens up Twitter. He's just like, fuck.
What the hell?
Guys, a notable free agent that's still available is former Seahawks and 49ers legend Richard Sherman. He remains unsigned, and I found this really strange because around the draft he was getting rumored to potentially rejoin the Seahawks, but those rumors have since cooled off as the Seahawks drafted cornerback Trey Brown in the 4th or 5th round, I believe. And looks like they're going kind of smaller at corner. They have DJ Reid, Trey Brown, signed Akella Witherspoon, who is taller, and still have Trey Flowers. So Richard Sherman, I'm not sure if he's going to make that move to free safety, but there's always potential for that. But some rumored names, guys. 2 former teams he's played for: the Seahawks, 49ers, rumored to potentially be interested in bringing him back, and the New Orleans Saints is another one I saw. So I guess unless you guys have heard of any other rumors of teams that he could potentially go to, out of those 3 teams, which would be one that you'd most be looking forward to having him go back to? We'll go to you first, Ozzy.
Sorry, I missed the first 2 teams.
Seahawks, Saints, and 49ers.
Oh, I would want the 49ers for sure. Although I did hear a beat reporter from the Patriots was saying that he had discussions with the Pats as well. So I would I'd much prefer that one, but I don't know how credible this guy is yet. He also said that Dante Hightower is all but surely retired. So we'll see what happens with the. If that happens, then I'll trust the Richard Sherman report. Anyways, with those 3 teams that you listed, the 49ers for sure. I think that team's a Super Bowl team, and I know we'll talk about them in a minute, but you add Richard Sherman to that secondary, he's shown that he still can compete at a high level. Even if he's not that all-pro, first-team all-pro talent, he's still very much above average cornerback, and I think that him going back to the 49ers all but shores up that Super Bowl roster. The other, like the Saints are kind of in a weird spot, and then the Seahawks are I got a thing against them. I got a
Yeah, fair. They couldn't tell after all these episodes, Ozzy. Zach, what do you think out of those three teams? And obviously you guys are stacked at DB over in Cleveland, so that's not an option for your team. But what do you think?
Man, it feels like one of those moments of the LeBron back to Cleveland style. And I would love to see Richard Sherman head back there. And, you know, there were a little bit of wounds at the end there, and let him go just stitch those up a little bit and go win another Super Bowl with Russell Wilson. Too bad they meet the Browns and the Browns beat them. But to go back,
you know, right? That'd just be an accomplishment itself. Yeah.
Would be great. I think that would be fun, and I think it would bring another level of leadership to that secondary that really needed it last year. And you know, I think there's probably still a lot of love for the 12th man in the heart of Richard Sherman. And you know, he proved what he needed to when he went to the 49ers. Like Absolutely. When LeBron proved when he went to Miami, he can, you know. Richard Sherman went to a Super Bowl, got burnt in the Super Bowl, unfortunately, but you know, he showed he could still play. Yes. So, you know, I think it would be a welcome addition to the Seattle Seahawks. I think it would be a great reunion, and it would bring a lot of, like I said before, leadership to that team that really needs it on the defensive side.
I totally agree. I think a reunion tour would be so nice. I mean, I don't really get the fit with the Saints unless they're the only one that's really willing to pay his price, but that seems like to be a rebuilding team to me. And so I just wouldn't understand that from his career perspective. He has his full-time home is in Seattle. He's carved out a nice place for him there. He's originally from California. So to me, that kind of limits, like if he's trying to stay close and keep the family, like, you know, in one area, then Seattle or California makes the most sense. But yeah, I mean, Seattle's able to mend the bridge with Marshawn Lynch, which that didn't end on the best of terms either. And he came back when they needed running back most in 2019. Earl Thomas, I'm not sure if that bridge will ever be built again after he flipped off the sidelines. But for those that don't remember, Sherman was released in early 2018 after he tore his Achilles in a Thursday night football game against Arizona. That was the last time he was in a Seahawks uniform. And then he went and represented himself and signed with the San Francisco 49ers, where he had injury-plagued first year in 2018, but like an all-pro year in 2019, and then battled some injuries again in 2020. So, he said on a podcast with Chris Collinsworth, he has 2 more years left in him. I'd love for those to be in Seattle. It'd be really cool to have him back and, you know, go make some magic, go on one more run with old Pete and the boys. So, maybe call him Dirty Pete and the boys. Maybe that's the nickname. So,
beautiful.
Yeah. Speaking of the
Zach was talking about a Seattle Cleveland Super Bowl, and I couldn't stop thinking about how that'd be a great matchup, representing a couple of the greatest musicians to come out of each place. Macklemore versus Kid Cudi would just be an excellent battle of the bands to include on the Super Bowl week festivities. MGK.
Yeah.
MGK and Macklemore have to battle rap before the Super Bowl. That's the halftime show.
They're basically the same guy, actually. That's even better than Kid Cudi. Yeah, those guys are basically the same guy.
Why? Because they're white, Ozzy?
Come on, Steve.
I mean, if the shoe fits, Steve, come on.
Well, they're not the same guy at all.
No, they're not.
That's absolutely the angle you were taking.
Yeah, they're very different.
Very, very different artists.
Macklemore releases a punk album.
I'm starting to regret going down this path.
Macklemore doing punk, that would be something else.
Downtown, but stuff. Punk version.
Downtown. Okay. Yeah.
We'll save that. We'll save our album for another time. We'll release a wrong album. Also, for those listening, if you hear a cat meowing, there's been like stray cats in my new place that I have with my girlfriend. Not a bunch, but we brought one back to the vet last week, and she was fine. But there's like this one male cat that was stalking it, and then I've encountered this cat, and it looks like a mean fucking cat. And now I was chasing another fucking cat. So like this cat's just out for vengeance or something, and I don't know. I gotta kick his ass or something.
Did you guys rent a place at the SPCA or what?
You would think so, man. It's like a freaking zoo over here. So if you hear any meows, it's not Ozzy. There's a cat outside my house. Anyways, guys, Adam Rank, writer for NFL.com, says it's Super Bowl or bust for the 49ers. Citing that, it's Kyle Shanahan's 5th year now with the team. Jimmy Garoppolo might be his last stand as a starter with them drafting Trey Lance, and plenty of guys coming back from injury. The expectation is for this season to be a success, the 49ers need to go to the Super Bowl. How would you guys gauge success this year for the San Francisco 49ers? Obviously, they were very injury plagued on the way to a 6-10 record, I believe, last year. They have a little quarterback competition brewing with Trey Lance and Jimmy Garoppolo. It's February 2022. We're reflecting on the season. What's a success for the San Francisco 49ers? We'll go to our 49ers fanboy Ozzy first for this one.
Yeah, I don't think that this is very hot takey. Like, I think that it's easy to point to the 49ers who went to the Super Bowl in 2019. They have an injury-plagued season for the ages in 2020, and they still have that young core in 2021, and they only added to it. Like, I don't think that this is a hot take at all. I think that they are, for me, they might be the favorites to go to the Super Bowl this year, but it's hard to get to the Super Bowl. So it's one of those things where, like, they're definitely up there for as far as the upper echelon, but it's to say it's a bust season, a Super Bowl or bust, that's where I get kind of hung up on it. I don't think that Kyle Shanahan, if he gets to the NFC title game, is going to be on the hot seat because he didn't go to the Super Bowl. To me, I think that's kind of it should be at least the mark to get to the NFC Championship game. Mm-hmm. We've seen the Packers do that on multiple occasions, and to be fair, like, I don't think that should be something you hang your hat on, but at the very least for this 49ers team, as long as they stay healthy, I think that's where you should be kind of setting your bar. But for me, I think that they are a Super Bowl team, and I don't think that's a hot take at all.
Yeah, I think they're going to be really big contenders this year. The NFC kind of opens up now with Breeze retiring and the Saints not being, competing for that 1, 2, 3 seed anymore. Tampa Bay, as much as they won the Super Bowl running the same team back, they were a 5 seed last year. Seattle can't seem to string together a consistent season over the last 3 or 4 years, and so you're looking around and the NFC East, the entire NFC East is a write-off. Like, that's a 8-8 division or 8-9 division winner at best. So you're looking around, and the floodgates kind of open, and all these teams are vying for supremacy in the NFC. And now you don't have Aaron Rodgers showing up for Packers camp. And so, who takes that division now? Is it Fields and the Bears? Well, Dalton might be starting, which would be a mistake in my opinion. Is it Kirk Cousins and the Vikings? I don't think so. And so and the Lions are rebuilding. So now all of a sudden you're looking around and what? Maybe the 49ers do take it with an 11-6 record, and that's the number 1 seed, right? So it's really interesting to see how that works. And I like that kind of cap you put on it, Ozzy. I think an NFC Championship appearance or even a divisional round appearance would probably be a success for this team if they're able to stay healthy, especially if Jimmy Garoppolo is their quarterback, because we know he limits that team. And damn, I almost had it with a straight face. But yeah, I think that's probably a safe bar to set that at if you're Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers. Zach, you've been kind of smirking a little bit. You're not high on the 49ers, are you?
Hell yeah, I'm giving a little grin at this, man. We're not attributing anything here. Like, Salah's gone, their leadership's gone, Richard Sherman's gone, another big leader on that defense. And, then we look at Boza, who's coming back off an injury, and a new defensive coordinator. We don't know how that team's going to look on defense. Lots of talent. Yes, I agree. And now we have a quarterback controversy coming in as well. I don't think it's all roses here. I like Shanahan a lot. He's one of my favorite head coaches in the NFL, but I don't think this is all going to be roses. I think there's going to be some growing pains here. I think things are going to break down with Jimmy Garoppolo, and they're going to have to figure this young roster out again with all these guys coming back from injuries. It's going to take a while for them. What I could see becoming a success is it's going to take a while off the start, but maybe get hot near the end of the season and make a run as a wild card team. But Super Bowl or bust, like, lick my butt, right? Like, lick my star. It's not like you're coming off a season where you go 6-10 or whatever, and like you've lost now your defense coordinator, who is the heart of that defense of building these guys up from the sideline. And No, it's going to take time. It's going to take a little bit of time here. And I don't agree with that take.
You heard it here first. Super Bowl or bust, lick my butt. That's put it in stone, baby.
That's the name of the episode.
I think so. I think we'd be silly not to. Yeah, and
the headlines write themselves. Really.
Yeah. With the 49ers, it's so weird because they have like a blue chip player at every position, like, or every kind of position group. Like you have Trent Williams at left tackle, you have Fred Warner at the linebacking core, you have Joey Bosa? Nick Bosa, sorry, at the defensive line. Quarterback, you have potential there, and then receiver, you have a lot. Deebo Samuel, I'd say, is probably close to a blue chip player as you can get. And then running back, we know with that system, you don't really need a star running back. But I agree, Zach. Like their offensive coaching staff was poached thanks to Saleh. They lost Mike LaFleur, and I believe they lost someone else that they promoted their run game coordinator, but they lost Mike LaFleur to the Jets, and then they obviously lost Robert Saleh. So it's tough to say. I think 11 or 12 wins is probably safe for this team, and I don't mean 12-4. It's now 12-5. Or 11-6, which I think is a fair assessment, maybe even 10-7. But God, it's so weird saying all these freaking numbers. I'm not going to get used to that. Especially when you go to make our predictions. Like you can't predict a 500 team. That's just going to bother me now. But I'll complain about that in my journal or something because that's not really worth complaining about here. The NFL. Anyways, guys. Yeah, 49ers. I'd say NFC title game or divisional rounds, probably where I'll predict them to go this year. If they make it to the Super Bowl, I think it's because, it always takes a little bit of luck to get there. And I think, you need another 2019-esque season from Jimmy Garoppolo to really get there. But
plus, I don't think, regardless of what happens, even if they go 6-10 again with a healthy roster, I just want to kind of cap it by saying I don't think Shanahan should be on the hot seat at all. He'd be snatched up within 24 hours. Like if that's what Adam Rank is getting at, like that is so just so false. 2 years that or 3 of the years that he's been there, like the first year was a rebuild, 2 years have been decimated by injuries, and the 1 year that everybody was healthy, Super Bowl. Are we really gonna say, all right, if you go 6-10 this year with a healthy roster, you're done? No,
6-11 Aussie.
Anybody would be 6-11. Anybody would be happy to have Kyle Shanahan, and we've been able to witness what he can do with that team. Even with
Steve would be happy.
Yeah. Steve would be pumped
if they went all the way.
Adam Gase. No. If they fired Shanahan, a 7 and 10 season, and then hire Adam Gase.
Then just get boy wonder McVay out of the division, and I'll be happy. I guess that was big news too. He called Matthew Stafford a bad motherfucker, and everyone on Twitter was like, "Oh my god!" It's
I love it, man.
It's a cool thing for a coach to say. But it's just like. Yeah, we know Stafford's good, and we know he's probably going to be pretty good with the Rams. I don't need to hear about it. I don't need to hear everyone. I don't need to see 14,000 retweets on Bleacher Report with Sean McVay, a picture of Sean McVay yelling and then just saying he's a bad motherfucker in quotations.
Coming from a Seahawks fan, Steve. It's exciting, man.
And then you could tell.
And then Darius Slay has the audacity to call Stafford the GOAT. Like, oh yeah, all those playoffs, you sure the GOAT.
That's funny as shit.
I can't wait for this Rams team to go 8-9. I'm salivating for it. Yeah,
you could tell Steve is so he's shaking in his boots right now. His star is quivering right now because last year I was pounding the drum for Stafford on a shitty Lions team, and Steve is all like, yup, he's just eating it up, just like Zeke's eating. And now he's just like, oh, is he that good? Like, really?
I know Stafford is good, but he's not.
Sean, is he that bad motherfucker? Bleacher Report, tell me more.
No, well, I'm just saying, you want to talk about hyping something up, if Pete Carroll called Russell Wilson a bad motherfucker, it probably wouldn't get any airtime, but because it's cool Sean McVay and his slick fucking haircut and Matthew Stafford, it's big news. So another thing for my journal, I guess. So we'll just take it from there.
Journal.
Yeah, it's just full of football takes and anger. Guys, that concludes episode 116. We're super fired up for the CFL to be back, and NFL news is starting to come in. And what a time to be alive. We made it through, knock on wood, the worst of COVID, I want to say. I'm no epidemiologist. I don't know if
Well,
that's
they're
Enough.
not-
Sound,
I'm just-
if you say it with enough confidence, it sounds legit.
Yeah.
So
I'm no disease doctor, but yeah, you know, I hope everyone's doing the right thing if you're able to get in the shot, and you know, returning to life as normal, so we can all be sharing a few brews at a nearest football game, and you know, especially getting back and participating in our communities as well with youth sports and everything like that. So we're looking forward to that. Stay tuned for next week, episode 117. You never know who we'll have on the pod. And if it's no one, you get to hear our lovely voices serenade the entire listener base that we have here. So again, thank you guys for tuning in. And until next time, Godspeed.